Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Olli Heinonen. He's the former Deputy Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN nuclear watchdog. He held that position until 2010 and he's now a senior fellow at Harvard School of Government. He joined us via satellite from Washington, D.C. Mr. Heinonen, hello and welcome to the France 24 interview.
Thanks for having me.
So we're glad to have you because your former employer, the IAEA, as the agency is known, just issued a much-awaited report on Iran's nuclear program. All this as Israel is once again hinting that it could attack militarily Iran over its nuclear program. And the report, which was published on Tuesday, mentions, I quote, serious concerns about possible military dimension to Iran's nuclear program. Do you think this is a turning point?
Well, this is the first time when the Secretariat shares such kind of detailed information with its member states. But we have to remind that such kind of information was already given in, for example, in May 2008 report. So it's not news to all of the member states. But this is first time when this is in public to such a detail.
What is so new about this? We'll get into some details, but is there clear evidence that Iran is racing towards building a nuclear weapon?
Well, I think at this we need still to look in more detail, but this is, I think, is a fairly alarming situation, because on one hand you see people working with the design of a nuclear device. It looks like that. They are real people, real institutes with real equipment. And then on the other hand, you see that Iran is slowly building a capability to produce enriched uranium, which is also vital for a nuclear weapon. And there is no immediate need for Iran to have so much enriched uranium. So when you put those two together, I think it's time to have the clarifications from the government of Iran. Where are they heading for?
Because for you, there's no quote-unquote smoking gun, but there's just an accumulation of evidence that points towards a military and not a civilian nuclear program, correct?
Yes, well, it depends what you mean with the smoking gun. I think that when I start to look this information, at least the gun is a little bit warm here. This is not business as usual.
Okay, so I want to get into some details. The report says, focuses on one thing. It's about experiments around a nuclear explosive device. It mentions the assistance of a former Soviet scientist and also the existence or the alleged existence of a vessel where those tests would be conducted in a place called Parchin, which the IAEA visited twice, I believe in 2005, and you were there. So what do you make of those allegations?
Well, first of all, we know very well that the scientist was there. He has admitted it, I think, to the IAEA, and I don't know whether IAEA has had recently in discussions with him. So he had an expertise on such kind of things. It doesn't mean that he has himself advised how to build a nuclear weapon. That's a different thing. But he had the knowledge, and Iran could have utilized that know-how.
Right, and just about this place, Parchin, which you visited there, but it seems at the time you didn't see any indication that Iran was building what could be a vessel to test those nuclear triggering devices.
Yes, that's true. First of all, Parchin is a very large place. It has a lot of buildings, a lot of tunnels, etc. So we were selecting the places which we visited based on information which we had and basically satellite imagery and some procurement information. We visited some buildings which were under construction, which were designed to make for such kind of explosive tests, but they were not finished at that time when we visited.
Okay, there's also another concern that Iran, in the report, has been working on computer modeling, maybe to build a nuclear warhead, and the agency says it is, quote unquote, of particular concern. Is the agency right in being so concerned about this computer modeling?
Yes, these modeling things are important for engineers when they design such a kind of missile re-entry vehicle or some neutron physics experiments. I don't know which exact quote you have now from the report. But these are very unusual. These are not kind of, student exercises where someone looks these phenomena, but this is really a targeted approach, spending quite a lot of time using special software to see the phenomena which take place when a missile re-entry vehicle returns back to the atmosphere.
I want to get maybe more generally to the program. There is this assumption in the report that it was a coordinated, structured program until 2003. And after that time, it became a kind of scattered program. The Americans at some point even said the work on the nuclear weapon had been suspended, but the report seems to say it is ongoing. From your experience until 2010, is it your assessment that Iran maybe changed the structure but never abandoned a program to build a nuclear weapon?
I think that your analysis is correct. Maybe they really changed the structure and maybe reduced a little bit activities. But these people who were involved in these experiments, they continued, some of them in different institutes, perhaps under different umbrella, to maintain their knowledge and perhaps develop further their skills. But there are also unknowns here. This is what the IAEA know. There might be some other experiments which we are just not yet aware. And therefore, it's important to go for extensive discussions with the Iranian government and to find out what really is going and was going there.
You were deeply involved in those discussions, in those inspections with Iran. What is your gut feeling in terms of Iran's intentions? Did you see any evidence of obstruction, deception, and that maybe is indicating that they're doing something they should not be doing?
Well, first of all, if we go back to year 2003 and the beginning of this process when Natanz was revealed, there was a real deception. Our access to Natanz was delayed. They didn't tell the truth in the beginning. They blocked our access to take environmental samples. They stalled with the explanations. So we have this history all along. And same is if we talk about Parchin. It wasn't easy to get there. We spent months' time to negotiate our access. So I think, unfortunately, this has been the case, and this has slowed down the IAEA activities. And at the same time, Iran is building its enrichment capabilities. So it's not a good combination.
Right. There is also the revelation a couple of years ago that Iran is building a new enrichment facility at a place called Fordow, which apparently is hidden in a mountain, and people analysts see it as a way to protect against an eventual military strike. Do you think that this is another sign of concern?
It is concern, and what is really concern there is that Iran didn't disclose this construction work for the IAEA and proceeded in secrecy with this project. And evidence shows that work started actually much earlier than in 2007.
Right, but do you fear that because most of the information seems to come from Western intelligence services, the IAEA could be pushed into making very strong allegations against Iran, a little bit like the US made strong allegations against Iraq, especially that famous Colin Powell speech?
Yes, I know the speech, but the situation is quite a lot of different. First of all, here IAEA Secretariat is vetting and corroborating all information which it gets and combines it with its other findings, on-site visits, etc. IAEA uses also information which comes from private companies, interviewing of scientists who have been working there in Iran. So I think that the situation is very different. And then if you look at IAEA doesn't present the conclusion. It puts the facts on the table and asks Iran to explain what is this, what's the purpose. So I don't think you can do a comparison to that speech of General Powell.
Let me ask you for your assessment. If Iran is to decide to make a nuclear weapon, when can it do so?
I think that the bottleneck for Iran at this point of time is access to fissile material, access to high-enriched uranium. When you look the report here, the enrichment program is running well behind its schedule. Centrifuges are not performing well. But they are still able to produce enriched uranium. So I would say that if they get these more advanced centrifuges up and running, they could think of producing highly enriched uranium with a reasonable speed sometime at the end of 2012 or early 2013. So this is some kind of choke point for those who are concerned about the nuclear program of Iran.
So this gives time to maybe sanctions and negotiations and maybe avert a military intervention by Israel?
Yes, I think that this is up to the governments to decide whatever they do, but there is time, but the time is getting short.
Right. And do you think that Iran has made a decision to build a nuclear weapon, or is it maybe working only to acquire that capability?
It's from this information which is available there, we need to remember that this might not be all complete. It appears more that this is on a capability building and getting know-how rather than having a very cohesive, strong, focused program underway.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heinonen, for being with us in Duplex from Washington. And thank you all for watching this edition of The Interview on France 24.